Hello, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are, and welcome to the session hosted by the GSMA AgriTech program at Financial Inclusion Week. My name is Daniele Tricarico. I am Director of Insights and Research with GSMA AgriTech. GSMA is the global association of the mobile industry, and today we are hosting this session whose title is Unlocking Agri DFS through mobile money and beyond. Our program, the AgriTech program, focuses entirely on digital agriculture. So we're very happy to be here today with a panel of speakers as well who will be joining us today. If we can go to the next slide, please. So I'm just going to spend a few seconds to give you an overview of what we're going to cover today. We are going to start with some context from myself, introduction of the session and the objectives. We will then move on to a presentation from my colleague, Lisa Chassin. The presentation is about a report that we recently launched just last month. And the title of the report is Agri DFS, Emerging Business Models to Support the Financial Inclusion of Smallholder Farmers. So after we have this overview and context from the GSMA team, we will then open up to a panel of practitioners. So in the second part of the session, we are very happy to have here today with us a keynote presentation from JAS Pakistan. JAS is the largest MNO in the country, and they will give us a view on their approach to provide a suite of Agri DFS in their market. We will then have a panel discussions as well, and we will be joined in that panel by an MFI, Advance, that's an MFI in West Africa that is also expanding to other international markets. And also we will be joined by Mezzanine. Mezzanine is a company owned by the Vodacom Group, and they provide digital solutions for the agricultural sector in East Africa. The title of the panel is Enabling Agri DFS at Scale, and we will look to answer a few questions and to identify ways for sustainable business models for Agri DFS. During the session, of course, you will have an option to ask questions. Please post them on the chat, and we'll try to take as many as we can in the second part of the session and during the panel. Next slide, please. So the theme of Financial Inclusion Week is promoting prosperity in an era of uncertainty. COVID-19 has certainly caused many challenges to most of us, but particularly for smallholder farmers. It has been a systemic change, and that has meant that farmers have been negatively impacted at every stage of the agricultural cycle. So in this slide, you can see highlighted in red some of the challenges that farmers have faced, particularly when it comes to accessing finance. As we know, farmers tend to access inputs on finance, and that process has been disrupted due to the rising prices of inputs, but also to the lack of availability of inputs during the pandemic, which continues in many parts of the world. More generally, farmers have been faced with the credit shortages, even due to the simple fact that lenders have not been able to process applications or to have their agents on the ground to actually do on-farm visits to then proceed with credit services. Particularly at the post-harvest stage, farmers have faced higher transportation and storage costs, and that is putting a pressure on their profitability. But also they've been facing restrictions on payments due to the simple fact that they have not been able actually to be visited and receive cash directly from middlemen or buying agents. And that is putting certainly a great pressure not only on their profitability, but also on their liquidity. Next slide, please. So COVID-19 generally has accelerated both the use and adoption of digital financial services in low to middle income countries. When we look specifically at rural areas, well, farmers have also significantly increased their digital activities since the pandemic. Here you can see in this slide figures from a 60 decibel survey in Kenya that found that many digital services have seen an uptick by farmers. But what is most significant, and you can see here in the darker color in this chart, it is the increased use of digital financial services during the pandemic that is quite interesting to look at. And that is the use of mobile money for payments, mobile money to sending and receiving money, to save money as well, but also to take loans. Not only mobile money, but also other digital financial services, for example, mobile banking solutions. Next slide, please. So it is very important to say that the growth of agricultural digital financial services is happening in a context of greater need and demand and general growth of other digital agricultural solutions. It is important to say that because agricultural digital financial services are increasingly provided as a suite of services in bundled offers that are bundles of Agri DFS, but also bundles of advisory services and other digital ag use cases. During the pandemic, we've seen a significant growth of digital advisory as advisory has shifted from face-to-face to online, and farmers have turned to their mobile phones to access informational inputs, agronomic practices, weather forecast, etc. Agricultural e-commerce platforms as well have grown significantly during the pandemic due to consumer demand, and also have provided an opportunity for farmers to access more directly buyers. So Agri DFS happens in the context of this general growth of digital agricultural solutions. And this is important because in the session, and you will hear it later, we're talking about embedded finance in the context of smallholder financing and in the context of rural. But also we're talking about platforms. So really there is here an opportunity to provide DFS as a suite of solutions that address multiple farmer needs. So if you can go to the next slide. With this in mind, in the next segment, we will hear from my colleague Lisa, as I mentioned, about the key findings from our report on Agri DFS. And our discussion today will focus on some of the questions raised in the report. We will discuss the partnerships that are required to provide Agri DFS to farmers. We will also look at the technology enablers, at the supporting business models, and we will aim, if possible, as well, to highlight examples and elements of sustainable and potentially scalable as well solutions. So without further delay, let me now hand over to my colleague Lisa. Over to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Daniele, and thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm very pleased to present today an overview of our latest work on Agri DFS business models. And the idea today is just to introduce key insights and hopefully inspire you to take a look at our report, and if you haven't done so already. So next slide, please. Yeah, again, next. Yes. So let's start with a little bit of background. There are today 500 million households in the world that rely on agriculture for their livelihoods. However, they remain largely financially excluded, and this limits their ability to invest in their farm and improve their productivity and income. As you can see on the slide, the financing gap is estimated at $170 billion every year. And it is the widest in sub-Saharan Africa and for long-term agricultural needs, which means basically for asset financing. And this graph also tells us that most of farmers' financial needs are currently provided by value chain actors that provide close to 50% of currently available financial services. But the rise of digital solutions and innovations are enabling new ways to deliver agriculture financing and will hopefully contribute to reducing this large financing gap. Next slide, please. So before delving into the business models per se, let's look at some of these digital innovations that are enabling innovative DFS business models. So first, of course, we have mobile money that has revolutionized the payment ecosystem in low and middle income countries, and most notably in sub-Saharan Africa. Mobile wallets have become a convenient way to receive and save money, and now they are featuring an increasing number of services, including bill payments, remittances, but also digital credit. The second enabler that we have identified is the increasing availability of data. The digitization of value chains create information on farm and farmers' profiles, but also on the quantity and quality of yield, the mix of crop used, etc. And combined with digital payments history, this creates a wealth of farmer data that can be then used for KYC purposes and to feed into credit scoring algorithms. So this alternative data fills an information gap that we previously had on farmers, and it makes it then less risky to lend to them. So moving on to the third enabler now, which is APIs. So APIs have been enabling partnerships to scale Agri DFS, as they basically allow the data that we just mentioned, this data to be shared among different partners, between different partners. And finally, we have remote locking technologies. So these technologies are integrated in electronic devices that are purchased on credit, and they allow to shut down the device if a borrower, let's say, misses an installment. And so with this functionality, the asset can actually be used as a collateral that farmers usually don't have, enabling them to access asset financing often for the first time. Next slide, please. So these four innovations have driven innovative ways to provide agriculture financing. And at the GSMA, we have identified 5 Agri DFS business models that have great potential to fill the financing gap for farmers. So the first business model is the digitization of savings groups. Traditional savings groups have been helping farmers manage their irregular cash flows for decades. And with the rise of mobile money came the opportunity to bring these informal funds into the formal financial ecosystem. And aside from transactions being digitized, farmers can also borrow from the pool digitally. And then the deposit patterns create digital records and help build the financial history for these members. Then we have the second business model, that is the digitization of credit processes. So here we refer to credit products that are provided by financial service providers who turn to digital processes to basically gain in operational efficiency. Mobile devices, for example, can be used in the field to collect information about farmers and record transactions, while agent networks, be it proprietary or of an MNO, allow to reach the last mile more sustainably. The entire chain of processes can be digitized, from loan origination to loan disbursement and reimbursement. Credit scoring algorithms also allow the digitization of the credit assessment process. So the third model now is one that we at the GSMA are supporting through our innovation fund grantees, and this is the digitization of value chains. So this model refers to agribusinesses and cooperatives digitizing their procurement process, gathering basically a wealth of digital data around farm size, production quality and quantity, selling prices, etc. And using this data for credit scoring. These business models draw heavily from the relationship between farmers and agribusinesses. And agribusinesses are usually the touch points for clients, even though the loan is most commonly provided by a financial service provider. As a matter of fact, agribusinesses can't provide digital credit on their own. They require multiple partners, including fintechs and mobile money providers, as agribusinesses face many limitations in providing credit to farmers that partnerships help mitigate. But we'll come back to this in a minute. And our panelists will also take us through their own experiences implementing this model. Then we have the embedded finance model. And this one is quite recent and comes from the desire of mobile money providers to move beyond a transactional model to offer a full suite of services to their customers. So it makes use of APIs to avail mobile money platform to other providers to create almost a one-stop shop for farmers with all the different services they might need, from payments to savings, credit, and even advisory services. So Jazz and Mezzanine are pioneering this model, and they will share with us some key lessons shortly. And finally, we have the pay-as-you-go model. The pay-as-you-go was first used in the energy sector to pay for solar panels or solar powered appliances, but it gets increasingly applied to asset financing in other sectors, including agriculture, to pay, let's say, for irrigation systems or tractors. This model is still nascent and combines mobile money payments to pay for the installments with remote locking technologies that allows to lock the device remotely if installments are late. So this encourages farmers to repay, otherwise they won't be able to use the asset, and enabled also them to access services they could not access before because they lacked collateral. And the asset, as I said, serves as a collateral. Next slide, please. So, of course, these 5 business models may not be so rigid in real life, and organizations may actually combine several of them, and as we'll share our panelists very soon. But they give a good idea of the different pathways that agri players can take to provide much needed financing at scale. Another point that we shall keep in mind is that across all models, partnerships and data are key to reach scale. So for example, if we take model 2, a financial service provider that digitizes credit processes will need partnership with agritechs, agribusinesses, and even mobile money providers to acquire alternative data to build solid credit assessment models. In Model 3, although agribusinesses can bring extensive expertise in agriculture, field presence, and a strong relationship with farmers, they are not experienced to manage credit, and they have limited access to capital. So partnering with the financial service provider then brings the financial expertise, brings the access to capital, and most importantly, brings the regulatory compliance to offer financial products. Mobile money providers, in turn, in this model, can give access to mobile money data, give access to a large customer base, and to the extensive agent network, while agritechs, they bring the digital solution, but also the capacity to analyze the data that is being collected. So you see that this model also requires partnership to scale and effectively serve farmer. And our panelists will come back to this important point on partnership, I'm sure, in a few minutes. Same for Model 4, mobile money providers clearly need partners to plug in the embedded finance platform and provide a comprehensive offering to farmers. We think that this model has the highest potential to scale given the large customer base that will be accessing the product and the convenience of the plug-and-play solution to provide bundle services through APIs. So that was a quick overview of our report, and we're going to continue the discussion on unlocking Agri DFS with our keynote speaker and our panel discussion. So over to you now, Daniele.
Thank you, Lisa, for the overview of the key findings of the report. That was great. Yes, as anticipated, we are now opening up the discussion to a number of practitioners, starting from our guest at Jazz Pakistan. With Jazz, we are going to look at a specific example on how these business models are actually implemented in practice. So we're very happy to have with us today Tala from Jazz Pakistan. Tala is head of product growth and startup ecosystem with Jazz. And I believe he's supported in his presentation from his colleague Mohammed Iqbal Khan, who is an expert in digital platforms and new ventures at Jazz. So over to you, Tala and Mohammed.
Thank you so much. I hope I'm clearly audible to everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone. Really excited to be sharing what we have learned in our market. I'll start off with explaining a bit about the agri landscape in Pakistan and how DFS can help to support it If we could please move to the first slide. Okay, so Jazz AgriTech journey is one where we have seen a lot of challenges in our market, but we have also seen a lot of opportunity as well. So if you look at Pakistan, primarily, Pakistan is a country where there's a 19% contribution to the GDP is through this sector. We need to understand that it's a country where 38% of the workforce, roughly, is directly coming from the agri sector. That means a lot of manpower is being utilized. And this is primarily into divided into primarily laborers or small farm holders who are not very economically, who don't have land holdings that are not very economically feasible. So if you look at some of the challenges that the farmers are facing, what are those? So we need to understand what kind of challenges a farmer goes through in a country like Pakistan. A farmer goes down economically when he faces some of the things like bad health in his family. If he faces drought or severe weather conditions due to which his crop is affected. If the farmer has taken a loan on very unfavorable terms through middlemen, that's also a point where he or she faces a challenge. Add on top of this the low digital literacy that is available in our market. They do not have a lot of digital literacy. And on top of that, they're using methods which are archaic and old. So there's no hand holding. There's not a lot of people teaching them what are the new methodologies available, how can they work with new methodologies and increase their yield. So in Pakistan, while the size of farming has been growing, the yield per acre has not been growing the same way due to some of these reasons. So while it gives us a big challenge, it also gives us a huge opportunity. And that's the opportunity that we at Jazz are trying to get towards. So if we could move to the next slide. Yeah, so where do we come in as a digital operator in this picture? We have a base of 71 million active customers. This is the largest telecom operator base in Pakistan. We have 34 million plus 4G base, which is rapidly increasing. We have over 14 million wallets on Jazz Cash already, and a lot of these wallets are owned by farmers. So in a short while, we're also going to share a video with you where we will show you how on ground actually things are working. That video is there to give you a feel of what's happening on ground. So with DFS, there's a huge potential, a huge opportunity that if we could move these people onto digital financial services, we could provide them with health insurance, which could remove one of the problems that they're facing. We could provide them with lending options, which could remove another problem that they're facing through high interest loans. We could provide them with animal and crop insurances, which they don't have right now. So with a click of a button, they could now have access to them. And that's why we are also very strong believers in building an ecosystem. We have learned something, and that's what we are trying to now put into our project. And that is that no one player is going to master everything. So there would be somebody who would be having mastery in insurances. There would be somebody else who would be having mastery in lending. There would be somebody else who will have mastery in crop information or providing information. So all these services might rest with different partners of the ecosystem, and the ecosystem itself is so huge, it's so big that no one player alone can have the full pie. So it's more and more beneficial that we start bringing in more and more partners with us, and that's why we got in and we have mentioned two of our very important partners over here. One of them is Jazz.
We might have some problems in terms of your video, Tala. You have Yeah, we lost your audio as well from a moment. Let's try again.
So, in the meanwhile, I'll explain the overall partnerships we are having right now in Jazz. So currently, we have two partnerships in place for AgriTech partnerships. One is the Bakhaba Kisan, and other is the Jazz Kamyab Kisan. The purpose, as mentioned by Tala, that we want to give the 360 degree farmer's lifestyle and fulfilling the business needs and also the personal needs of the farmer through information advisory services and also through financial inclusion services, through digital payments and giving digital credits. So this journey of Jazz started in 2017 when Jazz launched a service named Jazz Ba Khabar Kisan, which means that it's an informed farmer. So we are currently, it's a scale service having 5.7 million registered users as of now, and this was primarily focused for the information advice services, and the majority as due to lack of digital literacy in Pakistan, and also the overall tech savviness, which is very much not available in the agri sector among the farmers. So this service primarily focused for the call center, IVR services, and SMS. And gradually, we are as the penetration of the smartphone is increasing in the rural community, this shift to the digital side and the digital penetration will definitely increase in near future. Uh, to give the more valuable features, specifically for those farmers who are more progressive and can and does has the digital literacy, so Jazz launched another service which named Jazz Kamyab Kisan. This means that a successful farmer with a you can with some of the advanced use cases. So one is through crop health through satellite imagery, optimal sowing time, hyperlocal weather with more better accuracy through GPS locations. So these were the primarily focus to give a better lifestyle and to give better moments to the farmers so they can improve their annual yields, their profitability, and also get rid of all those old practices which are currently prevailing in the Pakistan. So I guess Tala is back. So Tala, if you want to continue. I think there is some technical difficulties. So after launching these services, we wanted to know the actual because this agritech domain is very huge, and the potential we can scale it is way more. You can say profitable for each stakeholder. And to know the more insights, Jazz partnered with GSMA and won a grant to digitize this agri value chains for the last till the last mile. And to do so, we want to explore the unexplored and unaddressed agri enterprise solutions and other business models that are available, and get the information from GSMA and for other grantees and other MNOs available in the entire world, and get facilitated them from their expertise and information. As Jazz, being a telecommunication company and being a market leader in telco sector, Jazz also has a very strong B2B muscle on through which we have around 200 agri businesses onboarded with us for GSM portfolio. So Jazz has, as you can say, Jazz has, you can say, very good potential in reaching out to the businesses to find the right partnership with us, so to scale the overall agritech portfolio. Along with the GSM functionality and the footprint we have, Jazz is also a market leader for its own fintech solutions. Jazz is a financial services provider and has a Moblic Microfinance Bank and also a Jazz Cash stream to open digital wallets for the farmers. So this is something. This is how we want to leverage our existing portfolio using the telecommunication portfolio and also the financial portfolio to give the overall digital identity to the farmers through this and also leverage the actual needs of the financial inclusion which farmer requires. To go into the next step, I would like to please move to the next slide. So to give the to achieve the next level, Jazz started its own platform, and we are currently in the you can say RFP stage to digitize the B2B2C market and to uplift the farmers' lifestyle. And the purpose is to give the farmers the digital identity and provide them with the most relevant information. And to that, farmers should be facilitated with digital payments and financial inclusion products. As mentioned, Jazz Cash, we are already doing that with Jazz Cash and using Mobile Microfinance Bank, and some of the users are being facilitated from that. This overall scenario of agri lending also includes the insurance perspective, because farmers' health, farmers' life, and also the farmers' practices, the agri practices, is very crucial. That is the bread and butter for the entire family, and it's also a backbone for Pakistan. So the complete ecosystem for digital identity also includes the insurance perspective as well. And Jazz is also working with one of the partners to see what kind of insurance products we can leverage through our platform. This partnerships we currently have with AgriTech has leveraged us with you can say a camouflage of two business models. One is the embedded system, and also other is the digitization of agri value chains, because Jazz, through its payment gateways and APIs, is leveraging different partners too for digital wallets, financial transactions, and also financial lendings. And apart from that, because due to farmer literacy problems and also the connectivity issues with the farmers, because so farmers, we need to have an on-ground presence and a direct connection with with the farmers itself, because that is something which farmer trust. So farmers connect with each farmer every day. They have a discussion. They get advice from each other. So this ecosystem has to be replicated to facilitate the farmers in the best way. And for that, we have now so far have been credited 128 farmers as of now, and given 278 weather-based index insurance as of now. But this journey is, you can say, we have just started the journey, and we are very early at very early stage. So this has a lots and lots of potential for the business improvement, and also giving the farmer the right need and fulfilling their needs. But this also comes with you can say lots of challenges. The biggest problem is to get the data of the farmers. So this data collection is very expensive and currently is not available. So
move ahead. Sorry to interrupt you. I believe we have a slide. The next slide is about challenges, which closes your presentation.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that. So this cost of getting the data is very expensive, is very high, and to do so, we need to have an on-ground presence with the farmers, and for that, we need to have leverage and increase our partnership scale for that. And this to do the data collection, and also this partnership will also not just involve the agribusiness or agritech organizations. It would also involve to increase the microfinance portfolio, which including other microfinance services, multiple wallets opening, to give so that this platform, Jazz AgriTech platform, can give a complete suite to the end user, and eventually make the challenge happen, make the change happen. But this partnership itself is very, you can say, a challenge, because the partnership brokering and dealing with the right people with right mindset, so that they can actually think of digitizing this service, digitizing this overall landscape, is also a very big challenge. And designing, and specifically for designing the portfolio of agri lending, because Pakistan's climate is changing very rapidly from past few years, and the overall structure of the cropping is quite variant, has very, you can say, very drastic variance. For example, there are multiple types of crop with duration is very, you can say, very dynamic. Some take 8 months, some take 3 months. Similarly, the sowing time of one crop varies from while you're traveling from north to south. And also,
Please, we need to wrap up the presentation so we can move on to the panel discussion. We have also Tala that I think is back with us. So I would really appreciate if you could wrap up in the next 30 seconds. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So this, so I will just wrapping up my overall thing, but just with all these challenges we need to have, you can say the data is the most crucial thing, and for that data, this credit score, from that data we can do the better credit scoring and give the direct Agri DFS to the farmers and also the indirect Agri DFS to the farmers. This is all from my side. If you have some time, it will be good if you can play the video, so to give the flavor to the audience how AgriTech life cycle works in Pakistan. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think we'll have to skip the video in the interest of time, but let's move on to the panel discussion. Thank you for giving us this great overview on how you are essentially building a platform to provide a suite of digital financial services and more broadly digital ag services in Pakistan. We can move on to the next slide and the next one. Fantastic. So we can start with our panel. We have, I think, back with us Tala. Hopefully your connection works. It's great to have two speakers from the same organization. So in this case, Movahed was great to be able to jump and continue the presentation. I hope that your connection, Tala, now works so you can stay with us. Otherwise, we'll still have Movahed for the discussion. Still, I think we're experiencing some challenges with Tala from your end. So let's stay with you, Movahed. And I would like now to introduce our other panelists. We have Audrey Jobert from Advance. She's from the business development team at Advance International and MFI with operations in West Africa and expanding to other international markets. And as well, we have Stephen Kinuthia. He's a regional manager for East Africa. Hi, Stephen. Hi, Audrey. Stephen is regional manager for East Africa at Mezzanine, a tech company owned by Vodacom. So let's jump into the discussion. I would like to start with you, Audrey. We've heard this very comprehensive overview from Jazz about the way they're developing their platform. You know, we talked about embedded finance and platforms as one of the models, and Jazz told us about the way they are effectively combining a couple of models that Lisa presented before, the digitization of agricultural value chains, but also working on an embedded finance model to provide Agri DFS. So we know that Agri DFS are notoriously different from other digital financial services, and at Advance you have also developed a suite of DFS for rural households in West Africa, addressing multiple farmer needs. Tell us about your journey. What have been your steps to design and launch your solutions?
Yes, okay, thanks, Daniele. So indeed, I'll talk more about the case of our subsidiary in Côte d'Ivoire, so Advance Côte d'Ivoire, where indeed we have more than 82,000 smallholder farmers who now have access through digital channels to an account and to different products and services. And to reach this result, this situation, we've been through a gradual approach to continuously improve our value proposition for the smallholder farmers. So first, we started with a non-digital offer, an input loan. We implemented in partnership with several cocoa off-takers and with cooperatives. So last year, we disbursed more than 6 million euros of input loans to the cocoa value chain. And after, we saw that there was a demand for accessing to individual savings accounts. And as farmers were located in rural remote areas, we also had to implement alternative delivery channels, so digital channels, to give them access to accounts, and also to develop digital solutions to be able to onboard them directly on the field. And that was launched in 2015. Then in 2017, we saw that there was a need also for the farmers to be more active, to use more their channels and their accounts, to have some support. So we created a position at Advance, which is called the Financial Inclusion Agent. and they are on the field, but dedicated to train and support the farmer in managing to go through the mobile banking solution of Advance and to be autonomous in making the different transactions. The following year, so in 2017, we also saw that there was a need from the farmers to have access to funds during the gap season, so in August, September, to be able to send their children at school on time, so to cover the expenses linked to the schooling. So we implemented on our USSD mobile banking menu a digital school loan. So last August, September, more than 5,600 farmers could access to this digital school loan. And then we also enrich our offer in terms of channels. We were interfaced with the mobile money provider with wallet to bank, bank to wallet. But we also launched our own third-party agents network based in the cooperatives. I think I'll talk about it more in detail later, but we have 38 advance points in cocoa areas. And since 2020, we are piloting a digitization of premium payments with several off-takers. So the steps to reach this outreach is also to go through a very client-centric approach. So for each new product, new channel, we've been through a market study. We really include farmers in the design, and we see that it comes to that's also a success factor, because for the channels, that's how we decided to launch a USSD channel and not an app, because most of the farmers do not have a smartphone. For the digital loans we designed, we really choose to have a focus on the school loan product because it was the main need of the farmer, and we also designed the repayment schedule based on the seasonality of the activity of the farmer, with the repayment schedule from October to January during the main cocoa season. For another key success factor, I think, to develop digital financial services in agri value chain is to have what we call at Advance a high-touch, high-tech approach. It's really key to ensure that farmers, to fully benefit from our financial services, have a proximity relationship with Advance, and that's why we created this financial inclusion agents position to remain close and to support the onboarding of the farmers on the digital journey.
Fantastic. Thank you, Audrey. It's great to hear the work that you've been doing for a few years already as you said, in Cote d'Ivoire, but also expanding to other markets, really bringing together a number of DFS that go beyond as well the close financing needs related to agricultural practices, but supporting digital school loans and other aspects. We will go back to you with a few more questions about your model, but now I would like to move on to Stephen from Mezzanine. We talked about platform before with Jazz, with Movahead, and you have developed over time a platform for financial service providers and insurers, a variety of agribusinesses, of course, a variety of organizations, to provide a variety of services to smallholder farmers. Sure. Tell us a little bit about how you developed your solution over time.
Okay, thank you very much, Danielle. So for us, it's been actually about an 8 to 10 year journey where we were challenged to digitize operations for the smallholder farmers, for organizations that work with smallholder farmers. And of course, digital financing, of course, is right in the center of all of that. We've learned several lessons. I share a lot with what has been shared by the previous speakers. But a long story short, we have now moved from what we call a B2B partnership with our customers, and have gone directly in terms of engaging the farmers directly. So what we've done is reject the model to what we call a B2B2C approach. And what this basically entails is that we invest in the farm acquisition onto the platform. So all other ecosystem partners, of course, including digital finance service providers, including insurers, including input providers, including off-takers and so on, and content providers can basically come onto the platform and offer their services, and farmers can as well come onto the platform and consume all of these services. Some of the key challenges that we look to tackle for everyone on this is there has been a lot of good development of siloed SaaS solutions that are out there. And what we are saying, if you look at a content, somebody who delivers content, somebody who delivers insurance, somebody who delivers off-taking services and so on, all of these siloed solutions are holding information in various pods. So what we are saying is, to accelerate the digital transformation agenda, why don't we have all this information amalgamated onto a platform service that everybody can be able to come and consume what they need? So what I mean by that is, as a smallholder farmer somewhere in Tanzania, you can basically, as a financer, come onto the platform and see that Farmer Stephen in the village of Dodoma, for example, if we say, has been farming sunflower for 5 years. They've taken a loan of on average of $100 and have always repaid on time. The season that they did not have a good season, they had taken insurance, so actually they were de-risked on their loan. They ventured into maize and so on. So you're able to get all this information at a one-stop shop. So for all ecosystem partners, be it on the demand side or on the supply side, information is easily accessible.
Fantastic, thank you. You mentioned partnerships. We said before, partnerships are essential to scale. I would like to ask you about specific successes or challenges that you have experienced to bring platforms partners to your platform. And a minute answer maximum would be great. If you can just identify specific successes and challenges. It's not easy to work in the rural sector. Like, it's a challenging. You at Mezzanine, you work across multiple sectors as well in healthcare, so you have experience working across a variety of sectors. We know it can be challenging to work with partners and provide services, particularly to smallholder farmers. It'd be great to hear maybe some specific success factors or challenges that you experience in bringing partners. The same question for you, Movaid, in 30 seconds to a minute, because I'm also noticing we have quite a few questions coming in. So I wanted to ask a couple of those from our audience as well, starting with Stephen.
Thank you, Daniela. So in 60 seconds or less, of course, this can take forever, but in 60 seconds or less, the farmer is the heartbeat to making this work. So the farmer is what we refer to in our MNO space as the last mile. So the last mile, the key driver is network. Some countries are really vast, and there are, of course, network challenges. How we've been able to tackle that from a Mezzanine perspective, despite that, the fact that we are a Vodacom-owned company, our allegiances, of course, is to Vodafone and Vodacom. We've made our platform to be telco agnostic. That's number one. So that makes it very easy for us to access the farmer. Then from another perspective is that we really need to move away, I think, from an innovation perspective. When we're forming these partnerships, I talked about all the siloed approaches. We really need to move away from letting people focus on what they do best. So what I mean by that is, as a digital finance service provider, for example, why should I have to develop a platform that does credit scoring, that does data collection, and all of this? Why don't we let the technology providers provide the technology, and then you can come and consume those services and then focus on what you do best? So in short, how I summarize that is the brokering of partnership, which was actually in Jazz's presentation. So there need to be a little bit more trust in the ecosystem partners to agree in terms of working together to make this a success. Thanks.
Definitely trust and incentives as well for everyone to come together and support these kind of solutions. Movaid, for you as well, the same question, briefly, the key success factors that you are seeing at the moment as you're developing your solutions in terms of bringing partners to your platform, and challenges as well.
So the few of the key factors which I think is more crucial for the success story of this AgriTech digitization is to have the right partnership in place. So in Pakistan, we have partnered with two AgriTech partners to have a certain degree of support for us and to see how the things go in our journey. And for the, you can say, better partnership, we need for a better growth and better, you can, the scalability. We need to have a variance in the partnership. For example, multiple type of agri businesses with multiple type of agri tech organizations working in throughout the country, and also Jazz inherently being a telecommunication company, but we focus to go telco agnostic to have a better impact in the society. And along with that, we need to partner with banks. We need to partner with microfinance banks, digital wallets. But nonetheless, the middleman, which is you can say the resistance we are facing the most. But this resistance can be leveraged in a way that if we can digitize the middleman, that will be more helpful and more scalable for Jazz to have a direct impact with the farmers. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. I was looking at the questions, and there is a question about challenges that you have experienced at the farmer level. There is a question that I think, Audrey, you're well placed to answer. The question is about ways to incentivize farmers to using digital or mobile financial services, particularly when we are looking at low financial literacy. You have quite a bit of experience, no, in terms of addressing financial literacy, to facilitate adoption. But also other challenges. I imagine other challenges can be related to repayments, credit risk, but particularly related to literacy, which I think is tech literacy, but also financial literacy at different levels. Tell us a little bit about your experience. What measures you've taken to facilitate farmer adoption?
Yes, so indeed, adoption of digital financial services is a key challenge, specifically in rural areas. So I shared the experience on implementing our financial inclusion agents on the field earlier. I think another key factor to encourage farmers to digitize payment and receive payments on their advance account was to also widen our product and services range, so we can encourage farmers to keep part of their payments directly on their advance account, because a barrier can be the cost of withdrawal for the farmers. So as we implemented an insurance product, digital loan, which is a prerequisite of savings, but with also repayment on the advance accounts, farmers are encouraged to digitize a bigger part of their payments. I think last time we talked about it, Daniele, but there is also an important topic which is change management. It's really a very big change for farmers to digitize the payment and adopt digital services. So additionally to financial literacy tools and trainings, it is also key to have involvement, commitments of all the stakeholders of the value chain to encourage them and support them in this journey. So we have a strong relationship with cooperatives, but it is also key to have support from off-takers, government, certificators, etc.
Audrey, what about change management as well at the cooperative level? So in what we describe as the digital value chain model, you can work very closely with an agribusiness or with a cooperative, and that is your experience. So you leverage your presence on the ground and their farmer relationship to digitize financial services on the ground. What can you say about change management when it comes to the cooperative?
Yes, so indeed, it's not only at a farmer level for cooperatives. So here I'm more talking about the cocoa value chain, but for cooperative, it is also a bit difficult to adopt this digitization of payments. It raises some challenges, some questions, including transparency, because there were quite informal structure used to manage everything in cash, and with digitization, you have also more transparency, more structuration. So it's also important to support cooperatives in this change. So what Advance has been doing is we implemented some trainings module, and we are also supporting the cooperative. We are about to pilot also a coaching program where we will spend more time in the cooperative to support also the accountant, etc., to change, adapt their process to digitize totally the payment of the cocoa.
Fantastic, thank you. I'm very cautious of time. Unfortunately, we don't have too much time for our discussion. I think we could stay here for longer and continue our questions and answers. I see there's also a few questions that have come up from the audience. One is about insurance, and the question is, how hard is it to convince farmers to take up agri insurance? I will try to tie that, in the interest of time, with a future outlook question for all of you. I know insurance is something that is in the plans, or you're already developing as part of your services. So maybe started with Stephen in maybe 45 seconds. New opportunities that you are pursuing at the moment, and if you have also anything related to insurance for all of you, if you can share your thoughts about providing that kind of solution, what is the opportunity, but also the challenge. But let's say more broadly, the outlook view from all of you in terms of what's coming up next in your roadmap. Starting with Stephen.
Sure, thank you. So Danielle, as you're aware, here in Kenya already, we've got our flagship platform, Digifarm, which is now moving on to the next frontier in terms of allowing more value chains to be onboarded onto the platform. So there is that, and more partnerships, especially even at the government level. And then we've also got our Connected Farmer Plus platform, which we have now launched in Tanzania, and now also going on to Uganda, with a view also to select one West African country. So the objective for us is to move from what we call a SaaS model, where we give the technology and walk away. We want to bundle our services, which includes a lot of advisory services based on the experience that we've learned. We want to ensure that digital services are orchestrated not only from B2C, which is with the farmer and the organization, but also orchestrate B2B. So we've seen there's a real need for digital finance in that for that component. Definitely within the next year, we will have more penetration of smartphones. So we're looking to also start onboarding our farmers, those that have the capability not only to access our services via USSD SMS, but also to access our services via smartphones. And then lastly,
on the last point.
Yes, on the last point, move away from traditional advisory to more of precision agriculture for our smallholder farmers. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, your video was frozen for a second, but I think we were able to follow. Maybe Audrey, a quick comment for you in terms of the roadmap.
Yes, so we are willing to continue increasing financial inclusion in rural areas. So in Côte d'Ivoire, in over agri value chains, but also in the over subsidiaries where we have agri lending offers, Tunisia, Ghana, DRC, Cameroon, but also Pakistan, where we just launched last month our agri lending product. And in parallel, we are willing to also work on our data strategy, how to increase the usage of our partners' data to be able to improve our value proposition and have an optimized loan decision making, but also work on be able to work on new offers like replanting, which is a big challenge in several value chains. That are the two main schemes for our roadmap.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I hear from the organizers that we're very short with time, but it's been great to hear from all of you also regarding the outlook. Thank you so much for your participation. There are quite a few questions that have come up, so we're gonna summarize all the questions, put them together, and we'll aim to get back to our audience with some answers. Thank you so much, all of you, for your participation. I think it's been a great discussion, and wishing to our audience and to all of you a good rest of the day. Thank you.